Tonight, Elena Brooks will meet the man who could destroy her entire life, or turn it into something she never dared to dream of. Damien Moretti isn't the kind of man a quiet literature teacher like her should ever get close to. He's Mafia, he's dangerous, he's the darkness she spent her whole life avoiding. But there are things in life you can't control, and love, when it comes, never asks permission. Stay with this story until the end. Hit like and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled. Now, let me tell you about the night it all began. The estate sat on the edge of the city like a fortress pretending to be a mansion. Iron gates, tall hedges, security cameras tracking every angle. Elena Brooks stood outside the entrance with her hands tucked into her coat pockets, second-guessing everything. She didn't belong here. This was Sarah's world, her best friend since college, the one who'd grown up with money, privilege, and a family name that opened doors Elena didn't even know existed. Sarah had begged her to come tonight. 25th birthday. Big celebration. You have to be there, Elle. I need at least one normal person in that room. Elena almost laughed at that. Normal. As if normalcy were something Sarah actually wanted. The gate buzzed open before Elena could press the intercom. A voice crackled through. Miss Brooks, please proceed to the main entrance. She walked up the long driveway, her boots crunching on gravel, feeling smaller with every step. The house loomed ahead, 3 stories of stone and glass, lit up like a museum. People moved behind the windows, shadows in expensive clothes holding champagne flutes. Elena checked her reflection in her phone screen. Black dress, simple. Hair pulled back. Minimal makeup. She looked exactly like what she was. A 23-year-old high school teacher who'd rather be home with a book and a cup of tea. The front door opened before she reached it. A man in a dark suit stood there, expressionless. Miss Brooks, Miss Moretti is in the East Salon. Thank you. Inside, the house was even more intimidating. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork that probably cost more than Elena's annual salary. She followed the sound of music and laughter, weaving through clusters of guests who barely glanced at her. She found Sarah in a room filled with white roses and candlelight, surrounded by people who looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Elena! Sarah broke away from the crowd and grabbed her hands. You came. I was starting to think you'd bail. I almost did. Sarah laughed. She looked stunning in a silver dress that probably had a designer name Elena wouldn't recognize. Come on, let me get you a drink. You look like you need one. They made their way to the bar, and Sarah ordered 2 glasses of champagne. Elena took hers and sipped carefully, too expensive to waste. So, Sarah said, leaning closer, what do you think? It's beautiful. Very you. Liar. You think it's excessive. Elena smiled. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Sarah clinked her glass against Elena's. But I'm glad you're here. Most of these people are my parents' friends or business contacts. I barely know half of them. Where are your parents? Dad's in Rome, Mom's upstairs with a migraine. Convenient timing, as always. Sarah's smile tightened. But my brother's here, somewhere. Elena had heard about Sarah's brother, but never met him. He was older, 10 years, maybe more. Sarah didn't talk about him much, and when she did, it was always vague. Busy, complicated, lives abroad. Does he come back often? Not if he can help it. Sarah's expression shifted, something unreadable crossing her face. He's not really the family gathering type. Before Elena could ask more, someone called Sarah's name from across the room. Sarah sighed. I have to go do the rounds. Stay here. Eat something. I'll find you later. She disappeared into the crowd, leaving Elena alone by the bar. Elena turned and scanned the room. She recognized a few faces from Sarah's social media, college friends, distant cousins, people who moved in circles Elena never touched. She felt the familiar weight of being out of place, like she was watching a movie she hadn't paid to see. She set her champagne down and slipped out of the salon, looking for somewhere quieter. The hallway was long and dimly lit, lined with oil paintings of people who looked stern and important. Elena wandered slowly, studying each one. She liked old houses. There was something about them, history pressed into the walls, secrets embedded in the woodwork. She turned a corner and found herself in a smaller room, a library. Floor-to-ceiling shelves, leather chairs, a fireplace crackling softly. It smelled like old paper and smoke. Elena stepped inside, relieved. This was more her speed. She ran her fingers along the spines of the books. Classics, first editions, some in languages she didn't recognize. Whoever had collected these knew what they were doing. Looking for something? Elena spun around. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, dark hair, sharp features. He wore a black suit that fit him like it had been made for his body alone. His hands were in his pockets, and he watched her with an expression that gave nothing away. "I'm sorry," Elena said quickly. "I didn't mean to—" "You're Sarah's friend." It wasn't a question. "Yes." "Elena." He didn't offer his name, just stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. The sound of it clicking shut made Elena's pulse jump. "You don't look like you're enjoying the party," he said. "I'm not much of a party person." "Then why come?" "Because Sarah asked me to." He tilted his head slightly, studying her. Elena felt herself being assessed in a way that was both uncomfortable and strangely compelling. It wasn't lecherous, it was something else. Calculated, precise. "You teach here," he said. Elena blinked. "How did you—" "Sarah talks about you." "Oh." He moved closer, not quickly, but with a kind of inevitability. Elena found herself stepping back until her spine hit the bookshelf. "What do you teach?" "Literature, high school." "Do you like it?" "Most days." "And the other days?" Elena hesitated. "The other days I wonder if I'm making any difference at all." Something shifted in his expression, not quite a smile, but close. "Honest." "I try to be." He stopped a few feet away from her, close enough that she could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the way his jaw tightened when he wasn't speaking. He had dark eyes, almost black, and they didn't blink as much as they should. "You're Damien," Elena said. "Yes." "Sarah's brother." "Unfortunately." Elena didn't know what to say to that. "She didn't mention you were coming tonight," Elena added. "She didn't know." "Do you always show up unannounced?" "When it suits me." There was a silence, not awkward exactly, more like charged. Elena could hear the music from the party, muffled and distant. In here it felt like they were in a different world entirely. "You should go back to the party," Damien said. "I thought I wasn't enjoying it." "You're not, but you're safer there." Elena's stomach tightened. "Safer than where?" His gaze held hers. "Here, with me." It should have sounded threatening. Maybe it was. But the way he said it didn't feel like a warning meant to scare her. It felt like the truth. "I don't understand," Elena said quietly. "You don't need to." He turned and walked toward the door. Elena thought he was leaving, but he stopped with his hand on the handle and looked back at her. "Stay away from me, Elena." Then he was gone. Elena stood there, heart pounding, trying to make sense of what had just happened. She felt shaken. Not afraid exactly. Something worse. Curious. She left the library and made her way back to the party, but everything felt different now. The music was too loud, the lights too bright. She kept scanning the room, looking for him, but Damien was nowhere to be found. Sarah reappeared an hour later, flushed and a little drunk. "There you are! I lost you!" "I wandered off. Sorry." "Did you meet anyone interesting?" Elena hesitated. "I met your brother." Sarah's smile faltered. "Damien's here?" "He was in the library." "What did he say to you?" "Not much, just introduced himself." Sarah looked uneasy. "Listen, Elle, if he talks to you again, just be careful, okay?" "Careful?" "He's not—" Sarah stopped, choosing her words. "He's not like other people. He's complicated, and he's involved in things I can't really talk about." Elena wanted to ask more, but Sarah's expression made it clear the conversation was over. The party went late. Elena stayed until midnight, then made her excuses and called a cab. Sarah hugged her at the door, whispering, "Thank you for coming. I know this isn't your thing." "Happy birthday," Elena said. The ride home was quiet. Elena stared out the window, watching the city blur past, and tried not to think about dark eyes and the way a stranger's warning had felt like an invitation. "All right, The next week passed in a haze of routine. Lesson plans, grading papers, staff meetings. Elena taught her students about metaphor and symbolism, about how literature held mirrors up to life. She didn't tell them that sometimes life handed you things no amount of reading could prepare you for. She didn't hear from Sarah, which wasn't unusual. Sarah's life moved at a different speed. Trips, events, people. They texted sporadically, met for coffee once a month if schedules aligned. Elena was fine with that. She liked her quiet life, predictable, safe. Or she had, until the library. She kept replaying the encounter in her head, the way Damien had looked at her, the way he'd told her to stay away. She'd Googled his name once, late at night, but found almost nothing. A few mentions in business articles. No social media, no photographs. It should have been a relief. It wasn't. On Thursday evening, Elena stopped by the grocery store on her way home from work. She was debating between pasta and stir-fry when she felt it. That prickle on the back of her neck, the sense of being watched. She turned. A man stood at the end of the aisle. Older, maybe 50, with graying hair and a leather jacket. He wasn't looking at the shelves. He was looking at her. Elena turned back to her cart, pulse quickening. Probably nothing, just paranoia. But when she moved to the next aisle, he followed. She grabbed a box of rice she didn't need and headed toward the registers. The man stayed a few paces behind. Elena's hands were shaking as she paid. She kept her head down, grabbed her bags, and walked quickly toward the exit. Outside, the parking lot was half empty. Streetlights flickered. Elena fumbled for her keys, trying not to run. Footsteps behind her. She spun around. The man was there, closer now. He stopped a few feet away and smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Elena Brooks. Her blood went cold. I don't know you. No, but I know you. Leave me alone. Just wanted to say hello. You're friends with Sarah Moretti, right? Elena's heart slammed against her ribs. I don't know what you want, but relax. I'm just curious. Saw you at the party last week. Thought you looked out of place. I'm calling the police. She pulled out her phone, but before she could dial, another voice cut through the air. Step back! Elena's head snapped up. Damien stood 10 feet away, hands in his coat pockets, expression carved from stone. The man in the leather jacket stiffened. Didn't know she was yours. Now you do. The man raised his hands in mock surrender, backing away. No harm meant. Leave. The man walked quickly toward a car parked at the edge of the lot. Engine started. Headlights flared. Then he was gone. Elena stood frozen, bags still in her hands. Damien walked toward her slowly. You're going to drop those. She looked down. Her hands were trembling. He reached out and took the bags from her, setting them on the hood of her car. How did you... Elena's voice cracked. How did you know I was here? I've been keeping an eye on you. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Elena's fear was starting to shift into anger. Who was that man? No one you need to worry about. He knew my name. He knew I was at Sarah's party. Damien's jaw tightened. Which is why you need to be more careful. Careful about what? I don't understand what's happening. I told you to stay away from me. I have been. Not far enough. Elena's frustration boiled over. You don't get to do this. Show up out of nowhere, tell me cryptic things, and then act like I'm the problem. You're not the problem, Damien said quietly. I am. The anger drained out of her. He looked tired suddenly. Not physically. Damien didn't look like someone who ever got physically tired. But there was something in his eyes, a weight that hadn't been there at the party. Tell me what's going on, Elena said. No. Why? Because if I do, you'll be even more in danger than you already are. I think I have a right to know. Damien stepped closer. Elena didn't back away this time. She could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive, could see the faint stubble along his jaw. You met me once, he said. One conversation. That's all it took for someone to notice. That's how this works, Elena. People watch. They take notes. They look for weaknesses. And I'm a weakness? His silence was answer enough. Elena's throat tightened. So what now? You follow me around to make sure I don't get hurt because of a conversation I didn't ask for? Something like that. That's insane. Welcome to my world. He picked up her grocery bags and opened her car door. Get in. I'll follow you home. I don't need... Yes, you do. Elena wanted to argue, but the look on his face stopped her. This wasn't negotiable. She got in the car. Damien closed the door and walked to a black SUV parked 2 rows over. Elena hadn't even noticed it. She drove home with her hands gripping the wheel too tight, checking her rear-view mirror every few seconds. The SUV stayed 3 car lengths behind, steady and silent. When she pulled into her apartment complex, Damien parked across the street and got out. He carried her groceries to her door without asking. Elena unlocked it and stepped inside, then turned to face him. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is my fault. How is any of this your fault? Because I should have stayed in the library that night. I should have let you walk past. But I didn't. Why not? Damien looked at her for a long moment. I don't know. He set the bags down just inside the door. Elena wanted him to leave. She also wanted him to stay. The contradiction was maddening. Lock your door, Damien said. Don't open it for anyone you don't know. If you see that man again, call me. He handed her a card, plain white, no name, just a phone number. I don't understand you, Elena said. Good, keep it that way. He left. Elena locked the door, then went to the window and watched the SUV pull away. She stood there long after the taillights disappeared, holding the card in her hand. She should throw it away. She didn't. Nuts. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Elena kept replaying the parking lot. The man's voice, the way Damien had appeared like he'd been waiting for it to happen. Keeping an eye on you. What did that even mean? By morning, she'd convinced herself it was over. One strange encounter. Nothing more. She'd avoid Sarah's world, keep her head down, go back to normal. But normal felt different now. At school, she taught her juniors about tragic heroes. Achilles, Macbeth, Gatsby. Men undone by their own flaws. One of her students, a sharp-eyed girl named Maya, raised her hand. Why do we only read about men who destroy themselves? We don't, Elena said. There are plenty of tragic heroines. But they're usually destroyed by someone else. The men do it to themselves. Elena paused. That's a good observation. So, which is worse? Choosing your own destruction or having it forced on you? The question sat with Elena for the rest of the day. That night, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? It's Sarah. Relief flooded through her. Hey, I was starting to think you'd forgotten about me. Never. Sarah's voice sounded strange, tight. Listen, can we meet? I need to talk to you. Sure. When? Now? Elena checked the time. Almost 8. Is everything okay? Just, please. The cafe near your place, 30 minutes. She hung up before Elena could respond. Elena grabbed her coat and keys, that uneasy feeling creeping back. She walked the 3 blocks to the cafe, scanning the street as she went. No leather jackets, no strange cars. Sarah was already there, sitting in the back corner. She looked pale. Elena slid into the seat across from her. What's wrong? Did Damien come to see you? Elena's stomach dropped. How did you... He told me. Not everything, but enough. Sarah's hands were wrapped around a coffee cup she hadn't touched. I need you to stay away from him, Elle. I am. No, you're not. Not if he's showing up at grocery stores. Elena felt her face flush. That wasn't my fault. I know, but it doesn't matter whose fault it is. You can't be near him. Why? What is this really about? Sarah looked around, then leaned closer. Her voice dropped. My brother isn't a businessman, Elena. He's not traveling for work. He's not just complicated. Then what is he? He runs things, bad things, dangerous things, the kind of things that get people killed. The words landed like stones. Elena's mouth went dry. You mean, I mean my family isn't what you think it is. My father built an empire, and when he couldn't run it anymore, Damien took over. He's been doing it for 6 years, and he's good at it. Too good. Elena felt the room tilt slightly. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you're walking into. Damien doesn't do relationships. He doesn't do normal. People around him get hurt. Not because he wants them to, but because that's how his world works. He warned me, Elena said quietly. He told me to stay away. And you need to listen. I am listening, but what am I supposed to do if someone follows me again? Sarah's expression cracked. Did someone follow you? Elena told her about the man in the parking lot. Sarah's face went white. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You met Damien once and now people are watching you. If they think you matter to him... She stopped. I can't let that happen. I don't matter to him, Elena said. I'm nobody. That's not how he looked at you. What? Sarah's eyes were sad. At the party, I saw the way he watched you leave the library. I've never seen him look at anyone like that. Elena's heart did something complicated. You're imagining things. I'm really not. They sat in silence. Elena's mind was racing. Mafia. The word felt ridiculous, like something out of a movie. But Sarah's fear was real. So what do I do? Elena asked. Nothing. You do nothing. You go back to your life and you forget you ever met him. And if that man comes back, then you call the police, not Damien. Elena looked down at her hands. The card was still in her coat pocket. She could feel it there, like a secret. Sarah reached across the table and squeezed her hand. I love you, Elle. You're the only real friend I have. I can't watch you get pulled into this. I won't, Elena promised, but even as she said it, she wasn't sure she believed it. They left the cafe together. Sarah hugged her tight before getting into a car that Elena definitely recognized from the party, one of the silent men in suits behind the wheel. Elena walked home alone, the city buzzing around her. She thought about tragedy and choice, about destruction that came from within and destruction forced from without. She thought about dark eyes and quiet warnings. When she got home, she pulled out the card and stared at the number for a long time. Then she put it back in her pocket. The days that followed were tense. Elena went to work, came home, graded papers. She didn't see the man in the leather jacket again. Didn't see Damien either. She told herself it was better this way, but she couldn't stop thinking about him. The way he'd moved in the library, like someone used to controlling every space he entered. The way he'd said her name in the parking lot, like he'd already known it long before she told him. On Friday, Elena stayed late at school to finish grading essays. By the time she left, the building was dark and empty. She walked to her car, keys in hand, trying not to think about parking lots and strangers. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Get in your car, lock the doors, drive straight home. Don't stop. Elena's pulse spiked. She looked around. The parking lot was empty. Another text. Now, Elena. She ran to her car, fumbling with the keys, got inside, locked the doors. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely get the key in the ignition. She drove. Fast. Checking the rearview mirror constantly. Halfway home, she saw them. Headlights following at a distance. Not the SUV. Something else. Elena's breath came in short gasps. She thought about calling the police, but what would she even say? She took a sudden turn, trying to lose them. The headlights followed. Her phone rang. She answered without looking. Pull into the parking garage 2 blocks ahead, Damien's voice said. 3rd level. I'll be there. How are you Just do it. Elena yanked the wheel and turned into the garage. Tires squealed as she spiraled up the ramp. 3rd level. She saw the SUV immediately parked near the stairwell. Damien stepped out as she pulled up beside him. Get out, he said. Elena obeyed, legs unsteady. Damien put a hand on her back, guiding her toward the SUV. His touch was firm but not rough. What about my car? Someone will get it. He opened the back door of the SUV. Elena hesitated. Trust me, Damien said. Elena didn't know why she did, but she got in. Damien slid in beside her. The driver pulled out immediately, smooth and fast. Elena twisted to look out the back window. The other car had stopped at the entrance to the garage, headlights glaring. Who were they? Elena asked. People who want to know what you mean to me. I don't mean anything to you. Damien looked at her. If that were true, you wouldn't be in this car. Elena's throat felt tight. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. I want to go home. You can't. Not tonight. You can't just... Yes, I can. His voice was hard. And I am. The SUV moved through the city, taking turns Elena didn't recognize. She felt panic rising in her chest. This is kidnapping, she said. No, this is protection. I didn't ask for your protection. You didn't have to. Elena pressed herself against the door, as far from him as the seat would allow. Damien watched her with that unreadable expression, like he could see right through her fear to something underneath. I'm not going to hurt you, he said quietly. How am I supposed to believe that? Because if I wanted to, I already would have. It was a terrible answer. It was also, somehow, the truth. They drove for another 20 minutes before pulling into an underground garage beneath a building Elena didn't recognize. Damien got out first, then held the door open for her. Come on. Elena followed because she didn't know what else to do. They took an elevator to the top floor. The doors opened directly into a penthouse apartment, sleek, modern, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Damien locked the door behind them and pocketed the key. Elena stood in the middle of the room, arms wrapped around herself. "You can't keep me here." "I can, but I won't." He walked to the kitchen and poured 2 glasses of water, then brought one to her. "You're free to leave whenever you want. But if you do, I can't guarantee your safety." "Why not?" "Because the people following you tonight weren't amateurs. They were sent by someone who wants leverage against me. And right now, you're leverage." Elena's hands trembled as she took the glass. "I don't understand any of this." "I know." "Then explain it to me." Damien set his glass down and looked at her for a long moment. Then he sighed, something almost human breaking through the armor. "Sit down," he said. "This is going to take a while." Elena sat on the edge of the couch. Damien stayed standing, hands in his pockets, silhouetted against the windows. "My father built his business on violence and fear," he said. "When he died, that business became mine. I didn't want it, but I was the only one who could hold it together." Sarah said, "I know what Sarah said. She's not wrong." He paused. "I run an organization that operates outside the law. We control territory, move product, settle disputes. People fear me because they should." Elena's stomach turned. "So you're exactly what she said, a criminal." "Yes." The honesty of it was almost worse than denial. "And you think because I met you once, I'm in danger?" "I don't think it. I know it. My enemies don't play fair, Elena. They'll use anyone they think I care about to get to me." "But you don't care about me." Damien's expression shifted. "I shouldn't." The distinction made her chest ache. "Why are you telling me this?" Elena asked. "Because you deserve to know what you're caught in." He moved closer, crouching down so they were eye level. "I'm going to fix this. But until I do, you can't go back to your normal life. Not safely." "For how long?" "I don't know." Elena felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back, refusing to cry in front of him. "This isn't fair." "No, it's not. I didn't ask for any of this." "I know." He reached out slowly, like she might bolt, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. His fingers were warm. "I'm sorry." Elena looked at him, really looked. He wasn't cold right now. He was tired, burdened, human. "What happened to you?" she whispered. Damien's hand dropped. He stood, turning away. "That's not a conversation for tonight." "When then?" "Maybe never." He walked toward the hallway. "There's a bedroom down the hall. It locks from the inside. You'll be safe here." "And you?" "I'll be working. Damien." He stopped but didn't turn around. "Thank you," Elena said, "for getting me out of there." "Don't thank me. This is my fault." Then he was gone, disappearing into another room and closing the door. Elena sat alone in the too big, too expensive apartment, listening to the city hum beyond the glass. She thought about her students, her quiet life, her books. Everything felt impossibly far away. She got up and walked to the windows. The city sprawled below, a million lights in the darkness. Somewhere out there, people were looking for her, people who wanted to hurt her to get to Damien. And Damien, who'd warned her, pushed her away, and then saved her anyway, was somewhere in this apartment, carrying a weight she couldn't begin to understand. Elena pressed her palm against the glass. She should be terrified. She was. But beneath the fear was something else. Something dangerous. Curiosity. Connection. The terrible, undeniable pull of wanting to understand someone you knew you shouldn't. Elena closed her eyes. This was how it started, she thought. This was how safe people ended up in danger. Not because they were reckless, but because sometimes danger came wrapped in protection, and you didn't know the difference until it was too late. She went to the bedroom Damien had mentioned. It was simple. White sheets, soft lighting, a door that did in fact lock from the inside. Elena locked it. Then she lay down on top of the covers, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come for a long time, but when it did, she dreamed of dark eyes and quiet warnings, and a man who'd told her to stay away even as he pulled her closer. Morning came through unfamiliar windows. Elena woke disoriented, still dressed, her mouth dry. For a moment she didn't remember where she was. Then it hit her. The penthouse, the chase, Damien's confession. She sat up slowly, listening. The apartment was quiet. Elena unlocked the bedroom door and stepped into the hallway. Sunlight poured through the living room windows, making everything look softer than it had last night. She found Damien in the kitchen, standing at the counter with a cup of coffee and his phone pressed to his ear. He was still wearing last night's clothes, shirt wrinkled, sleeves rolled up. He saw her and held up one finger. "Wait. I don't care what he thinks," Damien said into the phone, voice flat. "Tell him if he has a problem, he can take it up with me directly." He paused. "No, not over the phone. In person." Another pause. "Then he's not that concerned, is he?" He hung up and set the phone down. "Coffee?" he asked. "Please." He poured her a cup without asking how she took it. Black. She would have preferred cream, but she didn't say anything. "Did you sleep?" Damien asked. "A little. You?" "No." Elena believed him. He looked exhausted in a way that went deeper than one sleepless night. "What happens now?" she asked. "You stay here until I deal with the situation." "How long will that take?" "I don't know." Elena set her cup down harder than she meant to. "I have a job, students, a life. I know." "So you're just going to keep me locked up here indefinitely?" "You're not locked up. You can leave anytime you want. But if I do, then I can't protect you." Damien's expression didn't change. "Your choice." It wasn't a choice, and they both knew it. Elena looked around the apartment. Expensive furniture, tasteful art, nothing personal. It felt like a hotel. "Do you live here?" "Sometimes." "Where do you live the rest of the time?" "Wherever I need to be." She wanted to push, to ask real questions, but the look on his face told her she wouldn't get real answers. Not yet. "I need to call my school," Elena said. "Tell them I'm sick." "Already done. You have the flu. Should be back Monday." Elena stared at him. "You can't just—" "I can. And I did." "Who did you even talk to?" "Your principal. Nice woman. Very concerned about your health." "This is insane." "This is necessary." Elena wanted to argue, but what was the point? He'd already made the decision. She was realizing that was how Damien operated. He moved forward, consequences be damned, and expected the world to catch up. "I need clothes," she said. "My things." "Already handled. Someone's picking them up from your apartment this morning." "You have a key to my apartment?" "No, but locks aren't complicated." Elena felt her temper spike. "So you're breaking into my home now? Would you prefer I send you back there to pack?" She wanted to say yes out of spite, but the memory of headlights following her car was too fresh. "No," she admitted. "Then stop fighting me on this." "I'm not fighting you. I'm trying to understand why you care." The question hung between them. Damien picked up his coffee cup, then set it back down without drinking. "I don't know, yeah," he said finally. "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." He walked past her toward the hallway. "Make yourself comfortable. There's food in the fridge. Wi-Fi password is on the counter. I have to go out for a few hours." "Where?" "Work." "What kind of work?" Damien stopped and looked back at her. "The kind you don't want details about." Then he was gone. Elena heard the elevator doors close a minute later. She stood alone in the too-quiet apartment, coffee going cold in her hand. This was her life now, at least for the next few days. Trapped in luxury because she'd made the mistake of meeting the wrong man at the wrong party. Elena explored the apartment out of sheer boredom. 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, an office she didn't dare enter. The kitchen was stocked with food that looked untouched. Someone had filled the fridge recently, probably for her. She found expensive whiskey in the cabinet, wine she'd never be able to afford, protein bars that cost more than her usual groceries. The living room had a bookshelf. Elena went to it, hoping for distraction. Most of the books were in Italian, a few in English, business texts, political theory. One battered copy of The Prince that looked like it had been read 100 times. Elena pulled it out and flipped through. Notes in the margins, passages underlined. She wondered if Damien had written them, or if the book had belonged to someone else first. Her phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. "Where are you? You weren't at school today." Elena hesitated. What was she supposed to say? "Sick." "Just the flu. Nothing serious." "Do you need anything?" "No, just rest." "Okay, Feel better. Love you. Elena felt guilt twist in her stomach. She hated lying to Sarah. But what was the alternative? Your brother has me stashed in his penthouse because people are trying to use me against him? Yeah, that would go over well. She spent the rest of the morning reading, trying not to think about where Damien had gone or what he was doing. Around noon, there was a knock at the door. Elena froze. Another knock. Then a voice. Miss Brooks, I have your things. Elena approached the door carefully, looked through the peephole. A young woman in a black suit stood there, holding 2 suitcases. Elena opened the door but kept the chain on. Who are you? I work for Mr. Moretti. He asked me to pick up some items from your apartment. How do I know that's true? The woman pulled out her phone and held it up. Text message from Damien's number. Let her in. She's safe. Elena undid the chain. The woman brought the suitcases inside and set them by the couch. Is there anything else you need? She asked. No, thank you. The woman nodded and left without another word. Elena opened the first suitcase. Clothes, carefully packed. Underwear, jeans, sweaters, her favorite pair of boots. Toiletries from her bathroom, a book from her nightstand. Whoever had packed this had paid attention. These were the things she actually wore, not the stuff shoved in the back of her closet. The second suitcase had her laptop, charger, lesson plan notebook, and the stack of essays she'd been grading. Despite everything, Elena felt a small flicker of gratitude. Damien might be holding her here, but he wasn't treating her like a prisoner. She changed clothes, showered, tried to feel normal. It didn't work. Everything felt off. The expensive soap, the towels that were softer than any she owned, the knowledge that somewhere in the city, people were looking for her. Damien came back around 6. Elena was on the couch, laptop open, pretending to work on lesson plans. He looked different, tired in a new way. There was tension in his shoulders that hadn't been there this morning. How was work? Elena asked, not sure why she was bothering with small talk. Fine. Liar. Damien almost smiled. What gave it away? You look like you want to hit something. I already did. Elena's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means I had a conversation with someone who needed to understand consequences. Did you hurt them? Damien looked at her for a long moment. Do you really want the answer to that? No. She didn't. But she also couldn't pretend she didn't know what he was. Is it done? She asked instead. Can I go home? Not yet. When? I don't know, Elena. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bleeding through. These things take time. How much time? As much as it takes. She wanted to scream. Instead, she closed her laptop and stood up. I can't just sit here doing nothing while you go out and... She stopped. Whatever it is you do. What do you want me to say? That I'm out there making threats? Negotiating with people who'd kill you without a second thought? Because that's the truth. That's what I'm doing to keep you safe. I didn't ask you to. You didn't have to. Why? Elena's voice rose. Why do you care? You don't know me. I'm nobody to you. Damien crossed the room in 3 strides. He stopped inches from her, close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him. If you were nobody, he said quietly, you wouldn't be here. Elena's breath caught. His eyes were darker up close, almost black. She could see the muscle working in his jaw. Then what am I? She whispered. A mistake. The word stung more than it should have. Damien seemed to realize it. He stepped back, something like regret crossing his face. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. He didn't argue, just turned away and walked to the window, hands shoved in his pockets. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back, angry at herself for caring what he thought. I'm ordering dinner, Damien said, voice carefully neutral. What do you want? I'm not hungry. You need to eat. Don't tell me what I need. He turned back to look at her. Elena, just leave me alone. She went to her room and shut the door, locked it. Then she sat on the bed and let herself cry, hating every second of it. She was crying because she was scared, because her life had been turned upside down, because she was stuck in a stranger's apartment with no control over anything, and because part of her, a part she didn't want to acknowledge, had hoped when Damien said she wasn't nobody, he'd meant something different. There was a knock on the door an hour later. Elena? She didn't answer. Food's here. I'm leaving it outside the door. She heard him walk away. Waited 10 minutes, then opened the door. Thai food, her favorite. She'd mentioned it once to Sarah, months ago. There was no way Damien should know that. But somehow he did. Elena brought the food inside and ate it sitting on the bed, trying not to think about what it meant that he'd remembered. The next 2 days followed the same pattern. Damien left early, came back late. They barely spoke. Elena read, worked on lesson plans, stared out the window at a city she couldn't access. She was going stir-crazy. On the third morning, she woke to find Damien already in the kitchen. He was making coffee, still wearing yesterday's shirt, blood on his cuff. Elena stopped in the doorway. "You're hurt. It's not mine." Somehow that was worse. "What happened?" "Nothing you need to worry about." "Stop saying that." Elena walked into the kitchen, yanked his arm toward her. The blood was dried, dark. "Whose is it?" Damien pulled his arm back gently. "Someone who made a mistake." "Are they alive?" "For now." Elena felt sick. "I can't do this. I can't sit here while I what? Protect you? This is what protection looks like, Elena. It's not pretty. It's not clean, but it keeps you breathing. I never asked for this. You didn't have to." His voice rose for the first time. "You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to care about some teacher I met at a party? I didn't, but here we are." The silence that followed was deafening. Damien looked like he wanted to take the words back. Elena felt her heart hammering. "You care about me," she said quietly. "I shouldn't." "But you do." He didn't answer, didn't need to. Elena stepped closer. "Why?" "Because you looked at me like I was human," Damien said. "In that library. You didn't know who I was, what I'd done. You just saw me, and He stopped. "I can't remember the last time that happened." Elena's throat felt tight. "I still see you that way." "You shouldn't, not after this." "Maybe I don't care." Damien's expression shifted. "You should." But he didn't move away, neither did she. The air between them felt charged, dangerous. Elena could feel her pulse in her throat. She thought about Sarah's warning, about everything she knew she should do. Then Damien's phone rang. He stepped back, breaking the moment. Answered it. "What?" His expression went hard. "When?" Pause. "I'll be there in 20. He hung up and looked at Elena. "I have to go." "What happened?" "Nothing good." He grabbed his jacket. "Don't leave. Don't open the door. Don't call anyone." "Damien, promise me." "Okay, I promise." He left. Elena stood in the kitchen, heart still racing, trying to make sense of what had just happened. He cared about her. He'd admitted it. And she was starting to care back, which was possibly the stupidest thing she could do. Hours passed. Elena tried to distract herself with work, with reading, with anything, but her mind kept circling back to Damien, the blood on his cuff, the way he'd looked at her, the rawness in his voice when he'd said she saw him as human. It was almost dark when her phone rang. "Sarah." "Hey," Elena answered, trying to sound normal. "Where are you?" Sarah's voice was tight. "Home. Why?" "Don't lie to me. I went by your apartment. You're not there." Elena's stomach dropped. "Sarah, are you with him?" Silence. "Elena, answer me. Are you with Damien?" "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" Elena closed her eyes. "I'm safe. That's all you need to know. He's using you. He's protecting me." "From what?" "From people who want to hurt him through me." Sarah made a sound like she'd been punched. "Oh my God, I told you to stay away from him." "I tried, I did. But things happened." "What things?" Elena told her. The parking lot, the chase, the apartment. Sarah was silent through all of it. "I'm coming to get you, Sarah," Sarah said finally. "You can't." "Watch me." "Sarah, please, this isn't Damien's fault." "Yes, it is. Everything about this is his fault." Her voice cracked. "You're my best friend, the only person in my life who's real, and he's going to get you killed." "He won't. I trust him. You barely know him." "I know enough." Sarah laughed, bitter. "You're falling for him, aren't you?" Elena didn't answer. "Elena, please." Whatever you think is happening between you two, it's not real. He doesn't do real. He can't. You don't know that. I'm his sister. I know exactly what he's capable of. I have to go. Elena. She hung up, then turned off her phone. Her hands were shaking. Sarah was right about so many things. This was dangerous, stupid. She barely knew Damien. She should run. But the memory of him saying she made him feel human wouldn't leave her alone. Damien came back near midnight. Elena was still awake, sitting in the dark living room. He saw her and stopped. Why aren't you sleeping? Sarah knows I'm here. His expression didn't change. I figured she would eventually. She's angry. She has a right to be. She thinks you're using me. I am. Elena stood up. Don't do that. Do what? Pretend you don't care. Not after this morning. Damien's jaw tightened. What I said was the truth. Was a mistake. Stop calling me that. Elena crossed the room. Stop acting like this is something you can control. Everything is something I can control. Not this. Not me. Damien looked at her like she'd struck him. You should be afraid of me. I am. Then why are you still here? Because I'm more afraid of what happens if I leave. She didn't just mean the people hunting her. She meant this. Whatever was building between them. The things she couldn't name but could feel pulling her closer. Damien reached out, almost involuntarily, and brushed his thumb across her cheekbone. His hand was rough, scarred. Elena leaned into the touch before she could stop herself. This can't happen, he said quietly. I know. If I let myself care about you, really care, it puts you in more danger than you're already in. I know that too. Then why? Because I don't care. Elena's voice broke. I don't care about the danger or the consequences or any of it. Damien kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, hungry, like something he'd been holding back too long. Elena's hands fisted in his shirt, and she kissed him back just as hard, all the fear and frustration and longing pouring out of her. He backed her against the wall, one hand tangled in her hair, the other braced beside her head. Elena felt his heart pounding against hers, felt the tension coiled in every muscle. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. This is a mistake, Damien said. Probably. I'm going to hurt you. Maybe. Elena. She kissed him again, softer this time. He made a sound low in his throat and gave in, pulling her closer. They didn't make it to the bedroom. Elena didn't care. All she cared about was the feeling of his hands on her, the weight of him, the way he said her name like it was the only word that mattered. Later, tangled together on the couch, Damien ran his fingers through her hair. I meant what I said, he told her. This is dangerous. I know. I can't promise you safety. I'm not asking you to. What are you asking for? Elena looked up at him. The truth. That's all. Just be honest with me. Damien was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I've killed people, Elena. Not in self-defense, not accidentally. I've made the choice, pulled the trigger, and walked away. She should have flinched. Part of her wanted to, but she didn't. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you asked for the truth. And if we're doing this, whatever this is, you need to know who I am. I already know. No, you know what I do. That's different. Elena sat up, pulling the blanket around herself. Then tell me who you are. Damien looked at her like he was trying to decide if she could handle it. Then he started talking. He told her about his father, about growing up watching violence become currency, loyalty become law, about the day he realized his family's money came from other people's fear, about trying to leave and being pulled back when his father died. I was 26, Damien said. I thought I could walk away, but the organization, it's not something you just leave. And if I didn't take over, someone else would have. Someone worse. So you did it to protect people? I did it because I was good at it and because some part of me wanted the power. He looked at her. Don't make me into something I'm not. I'm not a hero. I never thought you were. Then what do you think I am? Elena touched his face, tracing the scar above his eyebrow. Human. Complicated. Someone trying to carry something too heavy alone. Damien caught her hand, pressed his lips to her palm. You scare me. Why? Because you make me want things I can't have. Like what? Normal. safe. A life where I don't have to worry about getting you killed. Elena's heart ached. Maybe normal is overrated. It's not. Then why are you here with me instead of pushing me away? Because I'm selfish. Damien pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. Because for once in my life, I want something that's just mine. Not the organization's, not my father's legacy, just mine. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped around each other in the dark. Elena knew this was dangerous, knew Sarah was right to worry, knew every logical part of her brain was screaming to run. But the part that had kissed him back, that had chosen to stay, that part was louder. What happens now, Eats? She asked. I don't know. That's becoming a pattern with you. Yeah. She could hear the smile in his voice. It is. They eventually made it to Damien's bedroom. Elena fell asleep with his arm around her, feeling safer than she had any right to feel. When she woke, he was gone. But there was a note on the pillow. Had to handle something. Back by tonight. Don't leave. D. Elena got up and made coffee, replaying last night in her head. Part of her couldn't believe it had happened. The other part was still feeling the ghost of his hands on her skin. Her phone was still off. She turned it on, then immediately regretted it. 23 missed calls from Sarah. 15 texts. Please call me. I'm worried. Elena, answer your phone. If you don't call me back, I'm coming there. The last one was from an hour ago. Elena called her back. Sarah answered on the first ring. Where are you? I told you. I'm safe. With Damien. Yes. Elena. Sarah's voice cracked. What are you doing? I don't know. Are you sleeping with him? Elena didn't answer. Oh my God. You are. Sarah sounded like she was crying. How could you? Sarah, he's my brother, my messed up, dangerous, emotionally unavailable brother, and you're my best friend. I'm sorry. Are you? Because it doesn't sound like you are. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. Sarah took a shaky breath. Do you have any idea what you're getting into, what his life is like, the things he's done? He told me. He told you what? A sanitized version? The highlights? Elena, he's killed people. He ruins lives. She stopped. And now he's ruining yours. He's not. Yes, he is. You just can't see it yet. Elena felt tears on her cheeks. I care about him. Don't, please don't. It's too late. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I can't do this. I can't watch you fall for him knowing how it's going to end. Sarah, call me when you come to your senses. She hung up. Elena stood there, phone in hand, crying in a kitchen that wasn't hers, in love with a man she barely knew. This was the mistake Damien had warned her about, and she'd made it anyway. Elena was still standing in the kitchen when Damien came back. He took one look at her face and knew. Sarah called. Yeah. He set his keys down, shrugged off his jacket. There was tension in every movement. What did she say? That I'm making a mistake, that you're going to ruin my life. Elena wiped her eyes. That she can't watch me do this. Damien crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. Elena buried her face in his chest, breathing him in, smoke and cologne and something darker she couldn't name. She's not wrong, he said quietly. I don't care. You should. Elena pulled back to look at him. Are you trying to push me away again? Every single day. His hand came up to cup her face. But I'm apparently terrible at it. Good. He kissed her forehead, then her nose, then her mouth, soft and careful, like she might break. Elena grabbed his shirt and kissed him harder, needing to feel something other than the ache Sarah's words had left behind. When they broke apart, Damien rested his forehead against hers. I need to tell you something. Elena's stomach tightened. What? The people who are following you, they work for someone named Marco Vitale. He's been trying to move into my territory for months. Using you against me was just the opening move. What's the next move? I don't know yet, but it's coming. Damien stepped back, ran a hand through his hair. I'm handling it, but until I do, you can't leave here, and you can't have contact with anyone outside. I already talked to Sarah. I know, that's done, but no one else. Not your school, not your family, no one. For how long? However long it takes. Elena felt frustration rising. You keep saying that, but I need more than that. I need a timeline. I need to know when my life goes back to normal. It doesn't. Damien's voice was flat. That's what you're not understanding. After this, after us, your life isn't going back to what it was. Why not? Because people know about you now. They know you matter to me. That doesn't go away just because the immediate threat does. The weight of it hit Elena all at once. She'd known intellectually that being with Damien came with consequences. But hearing it spelled out like this, permanent, irreversible, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. So what are you saying? I'm just stuck like this forever? I'm saying you need to decide if I'm worth it. Elena stared at him. That's not fair. None of this is fair. You're asking me to give up everything. No, I'm telling you what the cost is. What you do with that information is up to you. He walked past her toward the bedroom. Elena stood frozen, trying to process what had just happened. Was he really giving her a choice? Or was this just another way of pushing her away? She found him in the bedroom, changing his shirt. There was a fresh bruise on his ribs, purple and ugly. What happened? Elena asked. Conversation got physical. With Marco. One of his people. Damien pulled on a clean shirt, wincing slightly. It's handled. Is it? Because it doesn't feel handled. Elena. No. You don't get to shut me out now. Not after everything. She moved closer. You told me to decide if you're worth it. I already did. I'm here, aren't I? You're here because you don't have a choice. That's bullshit, and you know it. I could have called the police 12 times. Could have run when you weren't looking. But I didn't. Damien looked at her like he was seeing something he didn't expect. Why? Because I'm falling for you. The words came out before Elena could stop them. And I hate it. I hate that you're right about everything being complicated and dangerous. I hate that Sarah won't talk to me. I hate that I can't go back to my normal life. But I don't hate you. I can't. Damien closed his eyes. You barely know me. I know enough. You know what I've told you. That's different. Then tell me more. He opened his eyes and the look in them was raw. What do you want to know? Everything. I want to know who you were before all this. I want to know what you're afraid of. I want to know why you keep pushing me away when I can see that you don't want to. Damien sat on the edge of the bed. Elena waited, giving him space to decide. Finally, he spoke. My father was a brutal man. Effective, but brutal. He built the organization on fear, and it worked. People didn't cross him because they knew what would happen if they did. He paused. I spent my whole childhood watching him hurt people. And the thing that scared me most wasn't the violence. It was how normal it became. How easy. Elena sat beside him, not touching, just listening. When I was 16, he made me watch an execution. One of his lieutenants had been skimming money. My father wanted me to understand consequences. Damien's voice was hollow. He handed me the gun after, told me to finish it. I said no. What happened? He beat me unconscious. When I woke up, the man was dead anyway, and my father told me that mercy was weakness, that if I wanted to survive in his world, I needed to learn to kill my conscience. Elena felt tears burning. I'm sorry. Don't be. I learned the lesson eventually. Damien looked at her. That's who I am, Elena. Someone who learned to kill his conscience. Someone who can look at a problem and see murder as a solution. That's not all you are. It's enough. No, it's not. Elena took his hand. You didn't kill me when I was a problem. You protected me instead. That means something. It means I'm compromised. It means you're human. Damien pulled his hand away and stood up. Stop trying to make me into something I'm not. I'm not. I'm seeing what's actually there. You're seeing what you want to see. Maybe. Or maybe you've spent so long being what your father made you that you forgot you could be anything else. The words hit harder than Elena meant them to. Damien's expression shuddered completely. You don't know what you're talking about, he said coldly. Then prove me wrong. I don't have to prove anything to you. No, but you want to. Elena stood, meeting his eyes. You want me to see you differently than everyone else does. That's why you told me about your father. That's why you keep trying to scare me off. Because part of you is hoping I'll stay anyway. Damien was silent for a long moment. Then he said, You should go. Elena's heart dropped. What? Leave. Go back to your life. Forget this happened. I thought you said I couldn't leave safely. I'll handle it. I'll make sure Marco knows you're off limits. It'll be fine. You're lying. I'm giving you an out. Take it. Elena felt anger rising alongside the hurt. Is this because I was right? Because I got too close? This is because you deserve better than this? That's not your decision to make. Yes, it is. Damien's voice hardened. This is my world, my rules, and I'm telling you to leave. Elena wanted to scream, to hit him, to make him admit he was scared instead of angry, but she could see the walls going up, the same walls he'd had in place the night they met. Fine, she said. I'll go. She grabbed her suitcase and started throwing clothes into it. Damien watched from the doorway, expression unreadable. Elena, don't. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. She zipped the suitcase, grabbed her laptop bag, walked past him toward the front door. Her hands were shaking as she pressed the elevator button. The doors opened. Elena stepped inside. Damien caught the door before it closed. Wait, why? So you can push me away again? So I can apologize. Elena's anger faltered. For what? For being a coward. Damien stepped into the elevator, letting the doors close behind him. You were right. About all of it. I'm scared. Of caring about you. Of what it means. Of what could happen. And pushing me away fixes that how? It doesn't. But it's the only thing I know how to do when things matter too much. The elevator started moving down. Elena watched the numbers decrease, trying to figure out what she was supposed to say. I'm not good at this, Damien said quietly. At letting people in. At trusting that they won't leave or get hurt, or... He stopped. My father taught me that love is leverage, that caring about someone makes you weak, and I've spent 15 years proving him right. He was wrong. Was he? Look at what's already happened to you because of me. I'm still here. You shouldn't be. The elevator reached the lobby. Doors opened. Elena didn't move. Tell me what you want, she said. Not what you think you should want, what you actually want. Damien looked at her like the answer was obvious and impossible all at once. You. I want you. Every version of this I've run through my head ends badly, and I still want you anyway. Elena hit the button for the penthouse. The elevator started moving up. Then stop trying to make my decisions for me, she said. I know what I'm getting into. I'm not naive. I'm choosing this with my eyes open. Why? Because you make me feel alive in a way nothing else does. Because when I'm with you, I'm not just the careful, safe person I've always been. Because you see me too, Damien. Not just who I am, but who I could be. The elevator reached the top floor. They stood there, inches apart, the air between them electric. Damien cupped her face in both hands. If we do this, really do this, I need you to promise me something. What? That you'll tell me if it gets too much, if you need out. Don't stay because you think you can fix me or save me. Stay because you want to, and leave if you don't. I can promise that. And promise me you'll be careful, that you'll listen when I tell you something's dangerous. Okay. And promise, his voice cracked. Promise you won't make me choose between you and keeping you safe, because I'll choose keeping you safe every time, even if it means you hate me for it. Elena's throat tightened. I promise. He kissed her then, hard and desperate, like he was trying to pour everything he couldn't say into it. Elena dropped her bags and kissed him back, her hands fisting in his hair. They made it back to the apartment, barely. Damien pressed her against the door the moment it closed, his hands everywhere. Elena pulled at his shirt, needing skin, needing to feel him real and solid against her. Bedroom, she gasped between kisses. Too far. They didn't make it to the bedroom. Elena didn't care. All she cared about was this, the weight of him, the way he said her name like a prayer, the feeling of being wanted this completely. Afterward, they lay tangled on the floor, breathing hard. Damien traced patterns on her shoulder. I've never done this before, he said. Had sex on the floor? Let someone matter this much. Elena turned to look at him. His guard was down, expression open in a way she'd never seen. I'm terrified, he admitted, of losing you, of failing to protect you, of becoming my father and hurting you myself. You're not him. How do you know? Because he wouldn't be terrified. he wouldn't care. Damien pulled her closer. Stay with me. Not just tonight. Really stay. I'm not going anywhere. Even when it gets hard, especially then. They eventually made it to the bed. Elena fell asleep wrapped in Damien's arms, feeling like maybe, despite everything, this could actually work. She woke to shouting. Elena shot upright. Damien was already out of bed, pulling on pants, grabbing his phone. His face was stone. What's happening? Elena asked. Stay here. Damien, stay. Here. He grabbed a gun from the nightstand drawer. Elena's blood went cold. He left the bedroom. Elena heard voices in the living room, Damien and someone else, male, speaking rapid Italian. The tone was urgent, angry. Elena grabbed Damien's shirt from the floor and put it on, then crept to the bedroom door, pressed her ear against it. Don't care what he wants? Damien's voice, hard as iron. He has Marcus. If you don't, then he kills Marcus. I'm not negotiating. Damien, he's your brother. Elena's heart stopped. Brother? Half-brother. And he knew the risks. So we just let him die? We don't let him do anything. We get him back. But not by giving Marco what he wants. Which is me and Elena. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. She pushed the door open. Damien spun, gun raised, then lowered it when he saw her. I told you to stay in the bedroom. Who's Marcus? Damien's jaw tightened. Someone I should have mentioned before now. The other man in the room was younger, maybe 30, with sharp features and nervous energy. He looked between Damien and Elena like he was trying to figure out what was happening. This is her? He asked. Luca, not now. You brought a civilian into this? I said not now. Luca threw up his hands. Your funeral, literally, if we don't figure this out. Elena walked further into the room, keeping her eyes on Damien. Tell me what's going on. Marco took my half-brother. He's using him as leverage to get to me. Why didn't you tell me you had a brother? Because he's been out of the life for 3 years, living clean in Philadelphia. I thought he was safe. Guess not, Luca muttered. Damien shot him a look that could have killed. How long ago did they take him? 2 hours. They sent a video 20 minutes ago. Luca pulled out his phone, hesitated. You're not going to like it. Show me. Luca hit play. Elena couldn't see the screen, but she could hear it. A young man's voice, scared but trying not to show it. Damien, if you're watching this, don't come. It's a trap. He's going to kill us both either way. Then another voice, older, amused. You have until midnight. Come alone. Bring the girl, or your brother dies. We'll send you the location. The video ended. Damien's knuckles were white around the phone. When's midnight? 4 hours. Where? Warehouse district. They'll text the exact location an hour before. Damien handed the phone back. Get everyone ready. I want 20 men positioned around every warehouse in that district before we get the location. And when he realizes you brought backup, he's expecting backup. He's not expecting me to actually show up. So we're walking into a trap. No, I'm walking into a trap. You're getting Marcus out while they're focused on me. Elena's stomach dropped. You can't do that. Damien looked at her. I don't have a choice. Yes, you do. You can let the police handle it. Luca actually laughed. The police? Yeah, that'll work great. Luca, go, Damien said. I'll call you in an hour. You're seriously taking relationship advice time right now? Go. Luca left, still muttering. The moment the door closed, Elena rounded on Damien. You can't walk into a trap. I can and I will. He's going to kill you. Maybe, but he's definitely going to kill Marcus if I don't show up. So you trade your life for his? If I have to. Elena felt panic rising. No, we'll find another way. There isn't one. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You need me. He asked for both of us, which is exactly why you're staying here. Damien gripped her shoulders. Elena, listen to me. If you're there, I can't focus on getting Marcus out. I'll be too worried about protecting you. And if I'm here, you'll be distracted anyway, wondering if Marco sent someone after me. Damien opened his mouth, then closed it. She had a point. If I'm with you, at least you know where I am, Elena pressed. At least you can see me, protect me. By walking you straight into the line of fire? Better than leaving me here alone while you go get yourself killed. They stared at each other. Elena could see Damien calculating, running scenarios, trying to find a solution that didn't involve her getting hurt. "I hate this," he said finally. "Me too. If I say yes, and that's a big if, you do exactly what I tell you. No questions, no arguments. Okay?" "I mean it, Elena. If I tell you to run, you run. If I tell you to hide, you hide." "I understand." Damien pulled her close, pressing his face into her hair. "I can't lose you." "Then don't." He held her for a long moment, then stepped back. "Get dressed. Wear dark colors. Comfortable shoes." Elena went to the bedroom on shaking legs. She'd just volunteered to walk into a trap with a mob boss to save a brother she didn't know existed until 10 minutes ago. This was insane, but so was everything else about her life right now. She dressed quickly, jeans, dark sweater, boots. When she came back out, Damien had changed too, black on black, gun holstered under his jacket. He looked at her and something painful crossed his face. "Last chance to back out." "I'm not backing out." "You should." "Probably, but I'm not." He pulled her into a kiss that tasted like goodbye. Elena kissed him back fiercely, trying to tell him without words that this wasn't ending tonight. They were both making it out alive. They had to. Damien's phone buzzed. He checked it, face hardening. "Location just came through. They moved up the timeline. We have 30 minutes. "Why would they do that?" "To keep me off balance. Make sure I can't get backup in place." He texted something rapidly. "Luca's scrambling. This is going to be messy." "How messy?" "Very." They took the elevator down to the garage. Damien put Elena in the passenger seat of a different car, smaller, faster. He drove like he was racing, weaving through traffic. "Tell me about Marcus," Elena said, needing to focus on something other than her terror. "What do you want to know?" "How old is he?" 25. My father's second marriage. Are you close?" "We were, before I took over. He wanted nothing to do with the business, so I made sure he could leave. Got him set up in Philadelphia, clean identity, the works. And he stayed out? Until tonight." Damien's hands tightened on the wheel. "This is my fault. I should have had someone watching him. You can't protect everyone. I'm supposed to protect family." Elena understood then. This wasn't just about Marcus. This was about Damien proving he wasn't his father, that he could care about someone without destroying them. They reached the warehouse district. Damien parked 2 blocks away from the address Marco had sent. "Listen to me very carefully," he said, turning to face her. "When we get inside, stay behind me. Don't speak unless spoken to. If shooting starts, hit the ground and cover your head." "Okay." "And Elena," his voice cracked, "if something happens to me, there's a key taped under the driver's seat. It opens a safe deposit box at First National Bank. Everything you need is in there. Money, documents, contacts. Luca will help you disappear. Nothing's going to happen to you. Promise me you'll use it if it does. Damien, promise me." "I promise." He kissed her once more, quick and hard. Then he got out of the car. Elena followed, her heart hammering so hard she could barely hear anything else. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark and silent. Damien took her hand. "Stay close." They walked toward the entrance. Elena had never been more terrified in her life. The door opened before they reached it. A man stepped out. The same man from the grocery store parking lot, leather jacket and cold eyes. "Right on time," he said. "Marco's waiting." He led them inside. The warehouse was mostly empty, just concrete floor and metal support beams. Lights had been set up in the center, illuminating a small area like a stage. Marcus was there, tied to a chair, face bloodied. He looked up when they entered, and his expression went from hope to horror. "Damien, no!" "Shut up," said a new voice. A man stepped into the light. Older than Damien, maybe 50, with silver hair and a suit that probably cost more than Elena's car. He smiled when he saw them. "Damien Moretti, finally! And you brought the girl. How considerate." "Let my brother go, Marco." "Of course, after we have a little chat." Marco's eyes slid to Elena. "She's prettier than I expected. I can see why you're willing to risk so much." "She's not part of this." "Isn't she?" "My sources tell me she's been living with you for over a week, that you've been keeping her very close." Marco circled them slowly. "That's not like you, Damien. You don't do attachments. So either she's a very good actress or you finally found your weakness. Damien's hand tightened around Elena's. What do you want? Your territory, your contacts, your operations, everything your father built. No. Then your brother dies. You're going to kill him anyway. Marco tilted his head. True, but I might make it quick if you cooperate. I'm not giving you anything. Not even for her? Marco nodded. Two men grabbed Elena, yanking her away from Damien. She gasped as one of them twisted her arm behind her back. Let her go, Damien said, voice deadly calm. Give me what I want. I can't. You know that. Can't or won't? Both. Marco sighed. That's disappointing. I really hoped you'd be more reasonable. He pulled out a gun, pressed it to Elena's temple. Elena's vision went white with fear. She could feel the cold metal against her skin, smell the man's cologne, hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. Last chance, Marco said. Damien looked at Elena. She saw something break in his eyes. Okay, he said quietly. Okay, let her go and we'll talk. Marco smiled. See? I knew you'd come around. He lowered the gun. The man holding Elena released her arm. She stumbled forward and Damien caught her, pulling her behind him. Start talking, Marco said. Not here, not with them. You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you. Damien's voice went cold. Because you made a miscalculation. Oh? You assumed I'd come alone, or with minimal backup. You were counting on me being desperate enough to make mistakes. Marco's smile faltered. You brought an army? Something like that. The lights went out. Gunfire exploded in the darkness. Elena screamed as Damien pulled her down, covering her body with his. The world became chaos, muzzle flashes, shouting, the smell of cordite. Stay down, Damien shouted over the noise. Elena pressed herself flat to the concrete, hands over her head. She could hear Damien moving, firing, more gunshots, closer. Then hands grabbed her. Not Damien's. Elena fought, kicking and scratching, but whoever had her was strong. They dragged her backward through the darkness. Damien! She screamed. More gunfire. A body hit the ground near her. The hands released her, and Elena scrambled away, crawling blindly. The emergency lights kicked on, dim and red. Elena could see shapes now, men fighting. Marcus still tied to the chair. Damien moving through the chaos like violence made human. He saw her. Their eyes met across the warehouse. Then Marco stepped between them, gun raised. Enough! He shouted. The fighting stopped. Everyone froze. Marco had his gun pointed at Damien's head. Drop it, or I kill her next. Damien hesitated. Now, Damien? The gun clattered to the floor. Marco smiled. Better. Now we're going to... Marcus hit him. Elena didn't even see him break free from the chair, didn't see him grab the knife someone had dropped. But suddenly, Marcus was there, driving the blade into Marco's side. Marco screamed. His gun went off, wild. The bullet hit somewhere above them. And then Damien moved. Fast, brutal, efficient. He picked up his gun and shot Marco 3 times. Center mass. No hesitation. Marco went down. The warehouse erupted again. Marco's men scattering, Damien's people closing in. Luca appeared, shouting orders. Damien ran to Elena. Are you hurt? No, I don't. I'm fine. He pulled her up, checked her over quickly, then turned to Marcus. You okay? Been better. Marcus was bleeding from his wrists where the ropes had cut in. Thanks for the rescue. Thank me later. We need to move. They ran for the exit, Luca covering their retreat. Elena's legs felt like rubber, but she kept moving, kept running. They burst out into the night air. Sirens wailed in the distance. Go, Luca said. I'll clean this up. Damien didn't argue. He got Elena and Marcus into the car and drove, fast and reckless, away from the warehouse. Elena sat in the back seat, shaking. Marcus was beside her, pressing his jacket against a cut on his head. You must be Elena, he said. Yes, Sassam. I'm Marcus. Sorry we're meeting like this. It's fine. Are you okay? I will be. You? I don't know yet. They drove in silence for a while. Damien's eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror, watching her. Finally, they pulled into an underground garage. Different building, different safe house. Damien got them upstairs and locked the door. Then he turned to Marcus. You're going back to Philadelphia. Tonight. And this time, I'm putting actual security on you. Damien, non-negotiable. Okay. Marcus looked at Elena. Thank you for coming. Damien wouldn't have made it without you there to motivate him. Elena didn't know what to say to that. Marcus left them alone, disappearing into one of the bedrooms to clean up. Elena stood in the middle of the room, still shaking. Damien crossed to her and pulled her into his arms. I'm sorry, he said into her hair. I'm so sorry. For what? For almost getting you killed. Elena pulled back to look at him. You saved me. I put you in danger in the first place. We saved your brother. At what cost? Damien's eyes were haunted. You had a gun to your head, Elena. I watched it happen and couldn't stop it. But I'm okay. We're both okay. This time. What about next time? Then we handle it next time. Damien closed his eyes. I can't keep doing this. Fear spiked through Elena's chest. Doing what? Putting you at risk, dragging you deeper into my world. This isn't sustainable. So what are you saying? He looked at her, and the pain in his expression nearly broke her. I don't know. Yes, you do. You're saying you want me to leave. I'm saying I don't know how to keep you and keep you safe at the same time. Elena felt tears spilling over. We'll figure it out. Will we? Because tonight proved everything Sarah said. Everything I've been afraid of. You almost died. But I didn't. You could have, and it would have been my fault. Elena grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. I chose this. I chose you, knowing the risks. You don't get to make that choice for me. Even if it gets you killed? Even then. They stood there, wrapped around each other, both crying now. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving only exhaustion and fear, and something that might have been love. I can't lose you, Damien whispered. Then don't let me go. He kissed her, salt and desperation and promise. Elena kissed him back, pouring everything she had into it. When they finally broke apart, Damien rested his forehead against hers. This is going to be hard, he said. I know. People are going to keep coming after you. I know that too. And Sarah might never forgive either of us. I'll deal with that when I have to. Damien pulled back, studying her face like he was trying to memorize it. Why are you doing this? Because I love you, Elena said. The words felt right and terrifying. I'm in love with you, Damien, and I know it's too soon and too complicated and probably the worst idea I've ever had, but I can't help it. Damien looked stunned, like he'd never expected to hear those words, like he didn't know what to do with them now that he had. Say something, Elena said. He stopped, started again. No one's ever said that to me before. Ever? Not and meant it. Elena's heart broke for him. Well, I mean it. I don't know how to do this, Damien admitted. How to be what you need. You're already what I need. Just stay. Just be honest. That's all I'm asking. Damien pulled her close again, holding her like she might disappear. I love you too, he said quietly. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere between the library and tonight, you became the thing I care about most in the world, and that terrifies me. Me too. They held each other in the darkness, two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole together. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't safe, but it was real. And for now, that was enough. They stayed in the safe house for 3 days. Marcus left the first morning, escorted by 4 of Damien's men back to Philadelphia with instructions to disappear for a while. Before he left, he pulled Elena aside. Take care of him, Marcus said. He acts like he doesn't need anyone, but he does, especially now. I will. And watch yourself. He's going to try to push you away every time things get dangerous. Don't let him. Elena managed a weak smile. I'm getting good at that part. After Marcus left, the apartment felt too quiet. Damien spent hours on the phone, coordinating cleanup from the warehouse, managing fallout. Elena listened to him switch between English and Italian, his voice hard and businesslike, nothing like the way he'd sounded when he told her he loved her. She was grading papers on the couch when he finally hung up and collapsed beside her. How bad is it? She asked. Could be worse. Marco's dead. His second-in-command is scrambling to hold things together. We'll have a few weeks of chaos, then someone will try to fill the power vacuum. And then I deal with whoever that is. He rubbed his eyes. It's always the same pattern. Someone gets ambitious, makes a move. I shut them down. Repeat until I'm too old or too dead to keep doing it. Elena set her papers aside. Is that really how you see your future? It's how it is. What if it didn't have to be? Damien looked at her. What are you suggesting? I don't know. Something different. You said yourself you didn't want this life. Wanting and having are different things. Are they? You control the organization. Can't you change how it works? It's not that simple. Why not? Damien stood up, walked to the window. Because the moment I show weakness, the moment I try to go soft, someone will see it as an opportunity. The only reason I'm still alive is because people are afraid of me. So you stay brutal forever? That's the plan? That's reality. Elena got up and went to him. What if you didn't have to do it alone? What if you had help? I have Luca. I have my people. I mean real help. Someone who sees the bigger picture. Someone who could help you transition the business into something legitimate. Damien laughed, but there was no humor in it. You've been reading too many crime novels. I'm serious. So am I. You can't just wave a wand and make an organization like this legal. There are billions of dollars in illegal operations. Connections that go back decades. People who've built their entire lives on this system. But you've thought about it, Elena pressed. Haven't you? About what it would take to get out? Damien was quiet for a long moment. My father tried once. When I was 12. He wanted to go legitimate, invest in real businesses, clean the money properly. It almost got him killed. The old guard wouldn't allow it. They staged a coup, and he had to put it down violently to keep control. But you're not your father. No, I'm worse. I learned from his mistakes. I know how to hold power absolutely, which means I also know how hard it would be to give it up. Elena took his hand. I'm not asking you to give it up. I'm asking if you've ever considered transforming it, slowly, over time. Why do you care? Because I can't watch you do this forever. I can't sit by while you destroy yourself trying to be what your father made you. Damien turned to face her fully. And if I can't change, if this is all I am, then I'll love you anyway, but I don't believe that's all you are. He pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. You have too much faith in me. Someone has to. They stood like that for a while, wrapped in each other, trying to figure out how to build a future from violence and fear. On the fourth day, Damien said Elena could go back to her apartment. The threat had passed for now. Marco's organization was in disarray. No one was looking for her anymore. Elena should have been relieved. Instead, she felt uncertain. What about us? She asked as they packed her things. What about us? Are we just going back to how things were? Me in my apartment, you doing whatever it is you do? Damien zipped her suitcase. I don't know. What do you want? I want to see you regularly. I want to know you're safe. I can't promise safe. Then promise you'll try. He looked at her, something soft in his expression. I can promise that. Damien drove her home himself. When they pulled up to her apartment building, everything looked exactly the same, like her life hadn't completely changed in the last 2 weeks. Do you want to come up? Elena asked. I shouldn't. I have a meeting. Oh, okay. She reached for the door handle, but Damien caught her hand. Have dinner with me tomorrow, he said. Somewhere nice. Somewhere normal. Elena smiled. Like a date? Like a date. Okay, yes. He kissed her, gentle and careful, like she was something precious. When he pulled back, his eyes were serious. Be careful, he said. Keep your phone on. If anything feels off, call me. I will. I mean it, Elena. I know, I will. She got out and watched him drive away, feeling the absence of him like a physical ache. Inside her apartment, everything was exactly as she'd left it. Books on the coffee table, dishes in the sink, her bed unmade. It felt like walking into a stranger's life. Elena unpacked mechanically, then sat on her couch and tried to figure out what she was supposed to do now. Go back to work. Grade papers. Pretend the last 2 weeks hadn't happened. Her phone rang. Sarah. Elena stared at the screen, debating, then answered. Hello? Are you alive? Sarah's voice was tight. Yes. Are you safe? Yes. Are you still with him? Elena hesitated. Yes. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. I saw the news about the warehouse. They're saying it was a gang shooting, multiple casualties. I can't talk about that. Were you there? Sarah. Were you there, Elena? Yes. She heard Sarah take a shaky breath. Did he put you in danger? It's complicated. That's a yes. He also saved my life. After putting it at risk in the first place. Sarah's voice rose. Do you hear yourself? This is insane. I know how it sounds. Then why are you still doing it? Because I love him. The words hung in the air. Sarah made a sound like she was crying. I can't do this, Sarah said finally. I can't watch you throw your life away for him. I'm not throwing anything away. Yes, you are. You're throwing away your safety, your future, your common sense. For what? For someone who's going to get you killed? He's not. Yes, he is. Maybe not intentionally. Maybe he even thinks he's protecting you. But it doesn't matter. His world is violent and dangerous, and people die. That's the reality, Elle, and you're choosing to walk into it anyway. Elena felt tears burning. He's not what you think he is. He's exactly what I think he is. I've known him my whole life. You've known him 2 weeks. I know enough. No, you don't. You know the version of him he's showing you, the part that's gentle and protective and says the right things. But that's not all of him. There's another part, the part that kills people, that builds empires on fear, that will sacrifice anything to maintain control. I've seen that part too. And it doesn't scare you? It terrifies me. But I'm choosing him anyway. Sarah was crying openly now. I can't watch this. I can't watch you fall for him knowing how it ends. How does it end? With you dead or broken or both, and with me having to bury my best friend or watch her become someone I don't recognize. Elena wiped her own eyes. What if you're wrong? What if it works out? It won't. How do you know? Because I've seen what Damien does to people he cares about. Our mother left him when he was 8 because she couldn't handle the violence. Marcus had to disappear to have any kind of normal life. Everyone who gets close to him either leaves or gets destroyed. That's the pattern, Elena. And you thinking you're different doesn't change it. The words hit harder because they echoed Elena's own fears. I'm sorry, Elena said quietly. I'm sorry this is hurting you, but I can't walk away from him. Then I can't watch. Sarah's voice broke completely. I love you, but I can't do this. Don't call me unless you come to your senses. She hung up. Elena sat there holding the phone, crying silently. Part of her wanted to call Sarah back to fix this, to make it okay, but she knew it wouldn't work. Sarah had drawn a line, and Elena had chosen which side to stand on. She cried for a while, then washed her face and tried to pull herself together. Tomorrow she had to go back to work, had to face her students and pretend everything was normal, had to figure out how to live in 2 worlds at once. Her phone buzzed. Text from Damien. You okay? Not really, Sarah called. And? She doesn't want to talk to me anymore. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, I'm sorry, this is my fault. No, it's mine. I made my choice. Do you regret it? Elena stared at the question for a long time. Did she? Her best friend wouldn't speak to her. She'd almost been killed. Her quiet life was gone forever. No, I don't regret it. Even after everything. Especially after everything. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. I'll pick you up. It's a date. She put the phone down and looked around her apartment. It was quiet and safe and exactly what she'd always wanted. Before. Now, it just felt empty. The next day at school was harder than Elena expected. Her students were the same, the lessons were the same, but everything felt different. She kept catching herself looking at the door, half expecting someone to walk in with a gun. During lunch, her principal stopped by. Elena, can we talk? Elena followed her to the office, heart pounding. Had someone found out? Was she about to get fired? I wanted to check in, the principal said, closing the door. You were out sick last week and you seemed distracted today. Is everything all right? I'm fine, just still recovering. You're sure? Because if you need more time... No, I'm okay. Really. The principal studied her face. You know, you can talk to me if something's wrong, if you're dealing with something difficult. Elena wanted to laugh. Difficult. That was one word for it. I appreciate that, but I'm managing. She made it through the rest of the day on autopilot. When the final bell rang, Elena gathered her things and headed home, already thinking about what to wear tonight. Damien picked her up at exactly 7. He was wearing a suit, dark gray, expensive, and he'd shaved. Elena had put on a dress she hadn't worn in months, simple and black. "You look beautiful, he said when she opened the door. "You clean up pretty well yourself." They drove to a restaurant on the waterfront, the kind of place Elena had only read about. A hostess led them to a private table overlooking the water. "Is this okay?" Damien asked once they were seated. "It's perfect." They ordered wine and food, and for a while they just talked. Normal things, books, movies, what Elena's students were like. Damien was surprisingly easy to talk to when he let his guard down. "Do you miss teaching?" he asked. "I was only gone a week." "That's not what I asked." Elena considered. "I miss the routine, the predictability, knowing what each day would bring." "Do you want that back?" "I don't know if I can have it back, even if I wanted it." Damien reached across the table and took her hand. "I know I've complicated your life." "You've done more than complicate it. You've completely upended it." "Do you want me to fix it?" "I can. I can make sure you're safe, protected. You can go back to your apartment, your job, your normal life. And I'll stay away." Elena's chest tightened. "Is that what you want?" "No, but I'll do it if it's what you need. What I need is for you to stop offering to leave every time things get hard. I'm trying to give you an out." "I don't want an out. I want you to trust that I can handle this." Damien looked at their joined hands. "I'm not used to trusting people." "I know, but you're going to have to learn, because I'm not going anywhere, and I need to know you're not either. I'm not, I promise. Even when it gets messy? Especially then." They ate dinner and talked until the restaurant started closing. Damien drove her back to her apartment, but this time he came upstairs. Inside, Elena poured them both wine, and they sat on her couch, close but not touching. "Tell me something true," Elena said. "About what?" "About you. Something I don't know." Damien thought for a moment. "I'm terrified of becoming my father. Every day I wake up and wonder if today's the day I cross that line completely. You're not him." "How do you know? You never met him." "Because you care that you might be. He wouldn't have." Damien turned to look at her. "When I was 16 after the execution I told you about, I tried to run away, got as far as the bus station before one of my father's men found me. He dragged me home, and my father beat me so badly I couldn't walk for a week. And while I was lying there, he told me that love was weakness, that caring about anything made you vulnerable, that the only way to survive in our world was to kill every soft part of yourself." Elena felt tears welling up. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. He was right about one thing, caring about you makes me vulnerable, but he was wrong about the rest. It doesn't make me weak. It makes me want to be better." "Better how?" "I've been thinking about what you said, about transforming the organization. I can't promise it's possible, but I want to try." Elena's heart skipped. "Really? Really? It'll take years, maybe decades, and it might not work, but I want to try to build something that doesn't require violence to maintain." "What changed your mind?" "You, Marcus. Almost losing both of you." He touched her face gently. "I've spent 15 years building an empire on fear. I want to spend the next 15 building something worth protecting instead." Elena kissed him, slow and deep. Damien pulled her closer, his hands tangling in her hair. "Stay with me tonight," she whispered against his mouth. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." They moved to her bedroom, taking their time. This wasn't desperate like before. It was deliberate, careful, each touch meaning something. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Elena's head on Damien's chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I love you," she said. "I love you too." "What happens now?" "We figure it out, together." "Together," Elena repeated, liking the sound of it. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, two people trying to build something real from broken pieces. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Damien would come to Elena's apartment most nights, sometimes straight from meetings that left him tense and quiet. Elena learned to read his moods, to know when he needed space and when he needed her close. She went back to teaching full-time. Damien hired security that she wasn't supposed to notice, a rotating cast of people who just happened to be near her apartment, her school, wherever she went. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt safe. They had dinner together most nights, sometimes at her place, sometimes at his. Damien was teaching her to cook Italian dishes his grandmother had made. Elena was introducing him to authors he'd never read. It felt almost normal. Almost. But there were reminders. The phone calls Damien would take in another room, voice hard. The nights he came home with bruised knuckles. The way he always sat facing the door, always knew where the exits were. One night, about a month in, Elena woke up to find Damien's side of the bed empty. She found him in her living room staring out the window. "Can't sleep?" she asked. Thinking. About what? Everything. The business. Us. How to make this work long term. Elena came to stand beside him. "You don't have to figure it all out tonight. I know, but I want to. I want to give you the life you deserve. I have the life I want." Damien looked at her. "Do you? Really? Because from where I'm standing, you gave up your best friend, your peace of mind, and your safety for me. That's not nothing." "No, it's not. But I chose it, and I'd choose it again. Why? Because loving you makes me braver than I've ever been, stronger, more alive." She took his hand. "Before you, I was going through the motions, safe and small and scared of everything. Now I'm still scared, but I'm living, really living." Damien pulled her into his arms. "I don't know what I did to deserve you. You let me see the real you. That's all I ever wanted." They went back to bed, and this time Damien slept. But the peaceful moment didn't last. The next day, Luca called with news. One of Marco's former lieutenants was making moves, trying to consolidate power. There were rumors of retaliation coming. "How serious?" Damien asked. "Serious enough. He's reaching out to other families, building alliances. Could be a problem in a few months if we don't address it now." "Set up a meeting. Let's see if we can handle this diplomatically." Luca sounded surprised. "Diplomatically? Since when?" "Since I'm trying a different approach. This better not be about the girl." "Watch it." "I'm just saying, going soft now is dangerous." "I'm not going soft. I'm being strategic. There's a difference." Damien hung up and found Elena watching him from the kitchen. "Trouble?" she asked. "Always, but I'm handling it." "The diplomatic way?" "Trying to. We'll see if it works." The meeting was set for the following week. Damien prepared carefully, running scenarios, planning contingencies. Elena watched him work, seeing the strategist underneath the violence. "You're good at this," she observed one night. "At what?" "At thinking 3 moves ahead, at seeing patterns. You could have been anything, CEO, politician, chess master. Instead, I'm a criminal." "You're more than that." "Am I?" Elena set down her book. "Yes, you're someone trying to change. That takes courage. Or stupidity. Maybe both." Damien smiled, a real smile, rare and beautiful. "Maybe both." The night before the meeting, Damien asked Elena to stay at his place. He wanted her somewhere he knew was secure, with full security detail. Elena agreed without argument. She was learning to pick her battles. Damien left early the next morning. Elena tried to work on lesson plans, but her mind kept wandering. What if the meeting went wrong? What if someone tried to hurt him? She was pacing when Luca showed up at the door. "He sent you to babysit me?" Elena asked. "He sent me to make sure you don't worry yourself sick." Luca came inside looking around. "Nice place, very Damien, all expensive and no personality." "There's personality, you just have to look for it." Luca raised an eyebrow. "You're defending his interior design choices now?" "I'm defending him." "Yeah, I noticed." Luca sprawled on the couch. "You're good for him, you know. He's different since you showed up." "Different how?" "Less likely to shoot first and ask questions never. More willing to actually think through consequences." Luca studied her. "He cares about you. Like, actually cares. I've never seen him care about anyone except maybe Marcus. I care about him too." "Enough to deal with this life forever?" Elena sat down. "I don't know about forever. I'm dealing with today, tomorrow. That's all I can promise. That's fair. More honest than most people are." Luca's phone buzzed. He checked it, expression tightening. "Meeting's done, they're on their way back. And? And we'll find out when they get here." Damien arrived 30 minutes later looking exhausted but unharmed. Elena ran to him and he caught her, holding tight. "I'm okay," he murmured. "It's okay." "What happened?" "We reached an agreement, temporary, but it buys us time." Luca appeared in the doorway. "You trust him?" "No, but I trust that he's more afraid of a war than he is greedy for power, at least for now." "And when that changes?" "We deal with it then." Luca left, still muttering about diplomacy being a waste of time. Damien locked the door behind him and turned to Elena. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For being here. For not giving up on me. For making me want to try different ways." Elena touched his face. "You don't have to thank me for that." "Yes, I do. Because without you, I wouldn't be trying. I'd be doing what I've always done, ruling through fear and waiting for someone to take me out. And now? Now I'm trying to build something that might actually last. Something worth having." He kissed her, deep and meaningful, and Elena felt the shift in him. He wasn't just trying for her anymore. He was trying for himself, for the possibility of a future that didn't end in violence. That night, wrapped in each other, Damien told Elena about his plans, how he was slowly shifting legitimate business holdings, creating legal revenue streams, how he was identifying the parts of the organization that could be transformed and the parts that would have to be dismantled. "It'll take years," he said, "maybe a decade. And I'll probably make enemies along the way. People who like things the old way." "Can you survive that?" "I don't know, but I'm going to try." Elena held him tighter. "Then I'm with you, every step." "Even if it gets worse before it gets better?" "Even then." They fell asleep planning an impossible future, two people who'd found each other in the darkness and decided to build toward light. The weeks turned into months. Elena and Damien became a unit, learning each other's rhythms, building a life that balanced his world and hers. It wasn't perfect. There were hard nights when Damien came home covered in other people's blood. Days when Elena couldn't stop looking over her shoulder. But there were also quiet mornings drinking coffee together. Evenings cooking dinner and arguing about everything and nothing. Moments of peace stolen between the chaos. And slowly, impossibly, it started to feel sustainable. Elena still missed Sarah. That ache never went away. But she was building a life she could live with, alongside a man she loved completely. It was messy and complicated and dangerous. It was also real. And that, Elena decided, was enough. 6 months after the warehouse, Elena woke up in Damien's bed and realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd slept in her own apartment. Her things had migrated here slowly, a toothbrush, then clothes, then books, until one day she looked around and realized she'd moved in without either of them saying it out loud. Damien was already awake, sitting at the edge of the bed with his phone, reading something that made his jaw tight. "What's wrong?" Elena asked. "Nothing. Go back to sleep." She sat up instead. "We agreed no more lying." He set the phone down and turned to face her. "There's a situation. One of the families we've been negotiating with is pushing back on the transition plan. They want things to stay the way they've always been." "What are you going to do?" "Meet with them. Try to make them see reason." "And if they don't see reason?" Damien's expression went hard. "Then I remind them why they were afraid of me in the first place." Elena felt the familiar weight in her chest. This was the reality of loving him. He was trying to change, genuinely trying, but some problems still required the old solutions. "Be careful," she said. "Always am." He kissed her forehead and left. Elena got up and made coffee, trying not to think about all the ways the meeting could go wrong. She was grading papers when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello?" "Elena, it's Sarah." Elena's heart stopped. "Sarah? Can we meet, please? I need to talk to you." Yes, of course. When?" "Today. The cafe near your old apartment, 2 o'clock. "I'll be there." Sarah hung up. Elena sat staring at her phone, trying to process what had just happened. 6 months of silence, and now this. She texted Damien. "Sarah wants to meet." His response came immediately. "Do you want security?" "No, just me and her. Are you sure?" "Yes, I'll be fine. Call me when you're done." Elena spent the next few hours anxious and distracted. She changed clothes 3 times, practiced what she might say, tried to prepare for every possible version of this conversation. At 2 o'clock, she walked into the cafe and found Sarah already there, sitting in the back corner. She looked different, thinner, tired, like the last 6 months had been hard on her too. "Hi," Elena said, sliding into the seat across from her. "Hi." Sarah's eyes were red. "Thanks for coming." "Of course." They sat in awkward silence for a moment. Then Sarah said, "I'm sorry for cutting you off. For the things I said." Mopam, dan. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. "I'm sorry too, for hurting you." "You didn't mean to." "That doesn't make it better." Sarah wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about choosing him. And I was angry because I thought you were being reckless, throwing your life away for someone who couldn't possibly be worth it. And now? Now I think maybe I was wrong. Not about the danger, that's still real, but about you not knowing what you were doing." Sarah looked up, meeting Elena's eyes. "You're not stupid. You're not naive. You went into this with your eyes open, and you're still choosing it. That has to mean something." Elena's throat was tight. "It means everything." "I talked to Marcus," Sarah continued. "He came to see me last month. Told me about the warehouse, about how you were there, how you helped save him." "Sarah, let me finish. He said Damien's different now, that he's trying to change things, and Marcus thinks it's because of you. I don't know if that's true." "I do. I know my brother. I've watched him become harder and colder every year since our father died. But the last few months, he's been different. He calls me sometimes, asks how I am, actually listens to the answer." Sarah's voice cracked. "That's you. You did that." Elena didn't know what to say. "I'm not saying I'm okay with all of it," Sarah added. "I'm still terrified something's going to happen to you, but I can't keep shutting you out because of what might happen. You're my best friend, and I miss you." "I miss you too," Elena said, tears spilling over. "So much." They both stood and hugged across the table, crying and laughing at the same time. When they finally sat back down, Sarah said, "Tell me everything. I want to know what I missed." "Mishu?" Dad-san. So Elena did. She told Sarah about the safe house, about falling in love, about the long nights when Damien came home broken, and she had to figure out how to put him back together. About teaching herself to live with fear and uncertainty. About finding strength she didn't know she had. Sarah listened to all of it, sometimes wincing, sometimes smiling. When Elena finished, Sarah reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You really love him. I really do. And he loves you?" "He says he does, and I believe him." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Our father would have hated this. Would have hated you for making Damien soft. I haven't made him soft. I've just given him a reason to want something besides power. That's what I mean, and it's a good thing. Our father's way destroyed everything it touched. Maybe Damien's new way will be different." Sarah paused. "Is he really trying to go legitimate?" "Yes, it's slow, but he's serious about it. That's dangerous. A lot of people won't want that to happen." "I know, but he's doing it anyway." Sarah shook her head, something like pride in her expression. "I never thought I'd see the day. Damien Moretti, the man everyone's terrified of, trying to build something clean. He's still terrifying when he needs to be. Good. He'll need that before this is over." They talked for another hour, rebuilding what had been broken. When they finally said goodbye, Sarah hugged Elena tight. "Be careful," she whispered. "Please, I just got you back. I can't lose you." "You won't, I promise." Elena walked back to Damien's building feeling lighter than she had in months. She texted him. "It went well. We're okay." His response? "Good. I'm glad. How was your meeting?" "Productive." "Does productive mean what I think it means? Depends. Are you asking if anyone got hurt?" "Yes." "Then no. Nobody got hurt. We talked. They listened. For now." Elena felt relief wash through her. He was really doing it, really trying to solve problems without violence. When Damien came home that night, Elena told him about Sarah. He listened quietly, then said, "I'm glad she reached out." "Me too. I didn't realize how much I missed her until today. She was right to be angry with me. I did put you in danger. We've been through this, I know, but I can admit she had a point." Damien pulled Elena onto his lap. "I'm trying to do better, for you, for everyone. I know you are. It's slow. Some days it feels impossible. Like I'm trying to turn a battleship with a canoe paddle. But you're turning it. That's what matters." He kissed her, slow and deep. What did I do to deserve you? You saw me, really saw me, that first night in the library. I thought I was just meeting Sarah's friend. And instead I met the person who would change my entire life. They made love that night with a tenderness that still surprised Elena sometimes. Damien could be brutal when necessary, but with her he was careful, reverent, like she was something sacred. Afterward, lying tangled together, Damien said, I want to show you something tomorrow. What? It's a surprise. I don't like surprises. You'll like this one. The next day, Damien drove them out of the city. Elena watched the buildings give way to trees, highways, to back roads. Where are we going? You'll see. They pulled up to a property Elena had never seen before. Acres of land, a house that was old but beautiful, surrounded by gardens that had gone wild. What is this? Elena asked. It was my grandmother's house. She left it to me when she died. Damien got out of the car. Come on. They walked through the overgrown gardens to the house. Inside it smelled like dust and memories. The furniture was covered in sheets, but Elena could see the bones of something beautiful underneath. My grandmother was the only person in my family who wasn't involved in the business, Damien said, walking through rooms Elena could tell he knew by heart. She hated what my father did, hated the violence. She tried to get me out when I was young, but he wouldn't allow it. She sounds like she loved you very much. She did. She was the only person who ever saw me as something other than my father's son. He stopped in what must have been the living room, looking around. After she died, I couldn't come here. It hurt too much. But lately I've been thinking about it differently. How? As a possibility. A place that's separate from everything else. Clean. Elena understood then. You want to fix it up. I want us to fix it up. Together. Make it ours. Her heart swelled. Really? Really. It'll take time. The house needs work. But we could make it beautiful again. Have a place that's just ours. Away from the city, from the business, from everything. Elena walked to the window, looking out at the wild gardens. She could see it. The house restored, the gardens tamed, a life built here. Something real and permanent. Yes, she said. Let's do it. Damien came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. I love you. I love you too. They spent the afternoon walking the property, planning. Which rooms would be what, how they'd restore the gardens, where they'd put a home office for Elena's teaching work. It felt like building a future, brick by brick. On the drive back, Damien said, I've been thinking about something else too. What? The organization. I want to start the Moretti Foundation, something that does real good. Education, community centers, programs for at-risk kids. Use some of the money we've made to actually help people. Elena stared at him. You're serious? Completely. It'll take time to set up properly, get the right people involved, but I want to start building something that outlasts me, something that helps instead of hurts. That's incredible. It's what my grandmother would have wanted, what you would want. What you want, Elena corrected. This is your choice. Our choice. I want you involved, running programs, making decisions. This isn't just mine. It's ours. Elena felt tears welling up. This was more than she'd ever hoped for. Not just Damien trying to change, but actually building something meaningful. Okay, she said. Yes, let's do it. Over the next few months, they worked on both projects. The house became their weekend retreat, slowly transforming from abandoned to alive. The foundation took shape on paper, then in reality, with offices and staff and programs. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks. Families within the organization who resisted change. Threats from outside groups who saw weakness in Damien's new direction. Nights. When he came home frustrated, questioning whether any of it was worth it. But he kept going. They kept going. Elena watched him transform, not into someone different, but into a fuller version of himself. The man who could be brutal when necessary was also the man who spent Saturday mornings at the foundation, talking to kids about staying in school. The crime boss who made people afraid was also the man who cried when they finally got the house's garden blooming again. He was complicated and contradictory and deeply flawed, and Elena loved every version of him. 1 year after they met, Damien took Elena back to his grandmother's house. It was December, snow covering the gardens they'd restored. The house glowed with warmth, a fire crackling in the living room they'd spent months renovating. There's one more room I want to show you, Damien said. He led her upstairs to a room she'd seen before but never paid much attention to. Now it was transformed. Bookshelves lining the walls, a desk by the window, comfortable chairs, everything she'd ever wanted in a home office. For your writing, Damien said. I know you've been wanting to write something beyond lesson plans. This is your space to do it. Elena's throat was tight. When did you do this? The last few weeks. Luca helped. It's perfect. Look closer. Elena walked to the desk. On it sat a small box. Her hands trembled as she picked it up and opened it. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, a single diamond. When she turned around, Damien was on one knee. Elena Brooks, he said, voice rough with emotion. You walked into my life when I'd convinced myself I didn't deserve love or happiness or anything good. You saw past the violence and the fear to the person I was trying to be. You chose me anyway, even when it was dangerous and stupid and everyone told you not to. Elena was crying openly now. You made me want to be better, Damien continued. Not because you asked me to, but because you believed I could be. You gave me a reason to build something instead of just protecting what I had. You showed me what love actually looks like. Not weakness, not leverage, but strength and trust, and choosing each other every single day. He took a shaky breath. I can't promise you safe. I can't promise you easy. But I can promise you honest. I can promise you all of me. The good, the bad, the terrifying parts. Everything. I can promise to keep trying to be the man you see when you look at me. And I can promise to love you completely, fiercely, for the rest of my life. Damien held up the ring. Will you marry me? Elena couldn't speak through her tears. She nodded frantically, then managed to choke out, Yes. Yes, of course, yes. He slid the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that tasted like salt and joy and promise. Elena wrapped her arms around him, holding on tight to this man who'd terrified her and saved her and loved her all at once. I love you, she said against his mouth. I love you too, so much. They stood there holding each other while snow fell outside and the fire crackled and the future stretched out ahead of them, uncertain, but together. That night, Damien called Marcus and Sarah to tell them the news. Marcus laughed and said he'd known it was coming. Sarah cried happy tears and said she couldn't wait to help plan the wedding. Small ceremony, Damien insisted. Just family and close friends. That's like 10 people, Sarah said. Exactly. They planned it for spring, at the house. Elena wanted something intimate, something that felt like them rather than like a production. Damien agreed immediately. He'd never wanted a big wedding anyway. The months leading up to it were busy. The foundation was expanding, adding new programs. The organization's legitimate business operations were growing while the illegal ones slowly wound down. It was messy and complicated, but it was happening. Damien had to put down one last challenge, a lieutenant who tried to stage a coup, refusing to accept the changes. It was brutal and necessary, and it reminded Elena that her husband-to-be was still capable of violence when pushed. But he came home after, shaken in a way he wouldn't have been a year ago. I hated doing that, he told her. I know. But he didn't give me a choice. I know that too. Does it scare you, knowing I can still do that? Elena thought about it carefully. It reminds me who you are, all of who you are, and I chose to love all of it. Damien held her close. I don't want that to be my legacy. Violence and fear. It won't be. Your legacy will be the foundation, the changes you're making. The kids who get opportunities they wouldn't have had, that's what will outlast you. Because of you. Because of us. Spring came soft and green. The gardens at the house bloomed with flowers Elena and Damien had planted together. They got married on a Saturday afternoon with 20 people watching. Marcus, Sarah, Luca, a handful of others who mattered. Elena wore a simple dress, cream-colored and elegant. Damien wore a dark suit and cried when he saw her walking toward him. The ceremony was short. They'd written their own vows. Elena went first. Damien, you taught me that loving someone doesn't mean loving who they could be someday. It means loving who they are right now, in all their complexity. You're brilliant and broken and brave. You're trying to be better while accepting that perfect isn't possible. You see me clearly, and you love me anyway. I promise to do the same for you, to choose you every day, to be honest even when it's hard, to build this life with you, whatever it brings. Damien's hand shook as he held hers. Elena, I was convinced I wasn't capable of this kind of love, that my father had beaten it out of me years ago. You proved me wrong. You showed me that choosing to be vulnerable, to let someone in, to care about something more than power, that's not weakness. It's the bravest thing I've ever done. I promise to protect you, but also to trust you to be strong. To tell you the truth, even when it's ugly. To keep trying to build something worth having. And to love you completely for the rest of our lives. They exchanged rings. Elena's engagement ring joined by a simple band, Damien's a match to hers. When the officiant said they could kiss, Damien cupped Elena's face in both hands and kissed her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Everyone cheered. Sarah was crying. Marcus was grinning. Even Luca looked emotional. The reception was simple. Food, music, dancing in the garden. Elena danced with Damien, with Marcus, with Sarah. She looked around at the people gathered here and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. This was her family now. Complicated, dangerous, imperfect. But hers. As the sun set, Damien pulled Elena away from the party, leading her to the edge of the property where they could see the house glowing with light and hear the laughter floating from the garden. Happy? He asked. Incredibly. No regrets? Not one. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, and they stood watching the celebration they'd created. Thank you, Damien said quietly. For what? For seeing something in me worth saving, for not giving up even when I tried to push you away, for choosing this life. Elena leaned back against him. Thank you for letting me in, for trying, for loving me enough to want to be better. I'm still going to mess up sometimes. I know, so will I. That's how this works. As long as you're patient with me. Always. Then they went back to the party and danced until the stars came out. When the last guest left, Damien and Elena stood on the porch of their house. Theirs now, truly, and looked at their future. It wouldn't be easy. There would be more challenges, more threats, more moments when they'd have to choose between the old way and the new. But they'd face it together. Elena had walked into a library a year ago and met a man who scared her. She'd chosen him anyway, against all logic and reason. And in doing so, she had found something she didn't even know she was looking for. A love that was real and raw and worth fighting for. She'd learned that safety wasn't the same as happiness. That loving someone meant accepting all of them, darkness included. That courage wasn't the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it. Damien had learned that changing didn't mean erasing who you'd been. That vulnerability could be strength. That building something mattered more than maintaining power. That love wasn't leverage, it was foundation. Together, they were learning that healing wasn't linear. That forgiveness was possible, even for the worst things. That family could be chosen and rebuilt. That hope could grow in the darkest soil. 6 months later, the Moretti Foundation opened its first youth center in the neighborhood where Damien had grown up. Elena cut the ribbon, Damien beside her, both of them surrounded by kids who'd never know the violence that had funded this opportunity. A year after that, they found out Elena was pregnant. Damien cried when she told him, overwhelmed with joy and terror in equal measure. I don't know how to be a father, he admitted. Mine was terrible. What if I... You won't, Elena said firmly, because you know what not to do. And because you'll have me. We'll figure it out together. Their daughter was born on a warm summer night, with Sarah and Marcus in the waiting room, and Damien holding Elena's hand through all of it. When the nurses placed the baby in his arms, he looked at Elena with wonder. She's perfect, he whispered. She's ours. They named her Grace, after Damien's grandmother. And watching him hold her, watching him promise to give her a life free from violence and fear, Elena knew they'd done the impossible. They'd built something real from broken pieces. They'd taken a story that should have ended in tragedy and turned it into something beautiful. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, nights when Damien struggled with the weight of everything he'd done, everyone he'd been. Moments when Elena wondered if she'd made the right choices. But then Grace would laugh, or Damien would look at Elena like she hung the moon, or they'd stand in their garden watching the sunset, and she'd know. This was right. Messy and complicated and sometimes scary, but right. Because love wasn't about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone real and choosing them anyway. It was about building trust brick by brick, forgiveness moment by moment, a future day by day. Elena had been a teacher who played it safe, who'd built a life around avoiding risk. And then she'd met a man who was everything she should have run from, and she'd chosen to stay instead. That choice had cost her, but it had also given her everything, standing in the house they'd restored together, holding the family they'd created, looking at the foundation they'd built to help others. Elena understood something fundamental about love and courage and change. You couldn't predict where life would take you. You couldn't control who you'd fall for or what loving them would require. All you could do was decide who you wanted to be and then have the courage to choose it over and over again, even when it was hard. Damien had been right that first night. She should have stayed away from him. It would have been safer. But safety had never been the point. The point was living fully, loving completely, and building something that mattered with someone who saw you clearly and chose you anyway. The point was finding hope in darkness and growing it into light. The point was this: two imperfect people trying their best, choosing each other every single day. And that, Elena thought, holding her daughter while Damien wrapped his arms around them both, was more than enough. It was everything.